Can you consider yourself a highly effective person? To be highly effective, you must be able to turn ideas into reality quickly and with minimal waste or minimal mistakes. To be efficient is to set a goal and achieve the desired results no matter how difficult. In the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey shows us how anyone can have this high degree of effectiveness. And to do this, you must follow 7 principles that are organized in a sequential structure. 1. Be proactive. 2. Begin with the end in mind. 3. First things first. 4. Think win-win. 5. Seek first to understand and then to be understood. 6. Create synergy. 7. Sharpen the soul. In this Arata Academy Summary, you will find out how to incorporate these 7 habits and understand the importance of each of them in becoming a more effective person. You will know how to produce the results you want for your own life. And to understand these 7 habits, let's first understand the paradigms, the principles behind them. Effective people have effective paradigms and principles. A paradigm is an example, it is a reference model. How you understand the world depends on the paradigms in your head. Our actions and results come directly from the way we see the world. Becoming a highly effective person requires a paradigm shift, and this change can only happen from the inside out. You begin changing your principles and values, so this ends up changing your behavior. Most personal development books focus on superficial transformations by forcing behavioral changes through specific techniques or hacks. For example, the technique of repeating the name of the person you talk to pretend to be interested in what they're saying. It would be so much better to have a genuine interest than to be pretending with this technique. Instead of changing how you behave, change who you are. Focus on improving your integrity, humility, faithfulness, persistence, courage, justice, patience, diligence, modesty, and the golden rule. Do not do to others what you do not want others to do to you. The more your actions reflect these values, the better your chances of success in meaningful and lasting change. Obviously, such a profound transformation is not done overnight, it requires consistency. Therefore, these principles must be internalized as habits, as actions that we do repeatedly and so often that they become part of who we are. For this, the habits were divided into 3 groups. Group 1, Private Victory. These are the habits that allow you to have independence, that is, to have mastery over yourself. Here are the first 3 habits that you have to do on your own without depending on anyone. Being proactive. Start with a goal in mind and make the most important things first. Group 2, Public Victory. These are the habits of interdependence that you practice when you are in contact with other people. They're useful for teamwork. You need to think win-win, seek first to understand and then to be understood, and create synergy. And then the group 3 is about renewal. It's the habit of continuous improvement. Balanced self-renewal. It is sharpening the soul. The 7 habit approach provides a path of gradual development from dependence to independence, and then from independence to interdependence. And this is a cyclical path, a process of continued improvement, just as we value here at Arata Academy. So let us begin by following this path, by analyzing each one of these 7 habits. Habit 1, be proactive. The first of 7 habits is proactivity. Being proactive is a habit easily identified in anyone who can consistently produce results. Being proactive doesn't mean just taking the initiative. It means taking responsibility for everything that happens in your life. Being proactive is the opposite of being reactive. The more proactive we are, the less likely we are to blame others for what happens to us. We take responsibility for everything that happens in our lives, for better or for worse. Proactive people don't waste time worrying about conditions over which they have little or no control. Proactive people spend their time and energy on things they can control. Our problems, challenges, and opportunities can be divided in 2 areas, a circle of concern and a circle of influence. The circle of concern is about matters that we care about, but we cannot act upon. The circle of influence, on the other hand, concerns matters with which we can have direct impact, that is, which we can act. Proactive people focus their efforts on the circle of influence, on the things they can act on. Reactive people, on the other hand, focus their efforts on a circle of concern, things over which they have little or no control. So this is what you need to do. Identify the areas where you spend your time and energy. This is an excellent practical exercise as a first step to becoming a proactive person. It is important to invest our time in things we can do and not waste time on problems we can do nothing about. To feel more confident and increase your circle of influence, invest your time in things you can change. Focus your efforts on yourself, your family, your career, and you will never feel like you're wasting your time, wasting your energy. Habit number 2, begin with the end in mind. The second habit of highly effective people is to always start a task with the ultimate goal in mind. Starting with the goal in mind means starting by knowing what the desired outcome is. It means knowing where you're going. Start with a vision of how you like to see the end of your life. How would you like to be remembered? What would you like people to say about you? What legacy would you like to leave in this world? This visualization exercise lets you find your deepest personal values. All the results of your life are created first in your mind before they become concrete. So that is why you should always have the habit of first imagining what you want for your life, visualizing what you want for your future, and then starting to act with the ultimate goal in your mind. So this second habit is based on imagination, the ability to foresee in your mind what you can still not see with your own eyes. Now, don't expect that just by doing visualization will be enough, sufficient to be attracting, to be manifesting the desired outcome. Visualization is just one of many strategic planning steps. Visualization serves for you to have clarity on the ultimate goal and then to act effectively toward this desired outcome. More specifically, this habit requires that before you start a task, you have clarity about what is the end result that you want, so then you can start your actions. The habit of starting with the goal in mind allows your actions to be directed to the true meaning of your life, to your true personal mission. Inside this mission, you must think carefully about your highest values. It is important to have clear values so that when problems or unforeseen issues arise, you can act on what you value the most. So focus on what you want to be, your character, and what you want to do, your contributions and achievements. Now that will be your plan for success. Habit 3, first things first. Do you know what is the most important thing? Think, for example, what is most important to you, your well-being or spending time on social media. It is very simple to identify what is most important, but what is lacking is awareness of our choices. And to raise our awareness, you have to question your choices. For example, consider what it is the first thing that we do when we wake up. Do you take care of your well-being, or do you pick up your phone to check what was happening on social media while you were sleeping? Try to increase the consistency between your choices and what you consider to be important. Putting first things first is about prioritizing the most valuable things in your life. When you learn to do the important things first, you avoid falling into contradictions. There is a difference between what we say and what we actually do. Most of us say we prioritize personal and family well-being, but we actually spend more time and attention on what we say is less of a priority. For example, going and check social networks. If in habit 2 you have figured out how to visualize what you want for your life, in habit number 3 you will now learn to prioritize your actions, to turn that visualization into real results in an efficient manner. And the first step for this is to learn to differentiate what is urgent and what is important in order to be able to make decisions and act on that. Doing this over and over again increases your personal integrity so you can trust yourself more and more. And to do so, you can act according to priority. And you need to sort your tasks into urgent and important. Urgent affairs put pressure on us, require quick action. For example, if your kitchen sink is leaking water, this is an urgent matter. And urgent tasks need to be resolved as soon as possible. But this does not mean that this is an important task. Important tasks are those that bring us closer to our great life goals, as we envision in habit number 2. So a task like fixing the kitchen sink is urgent, but it is not important. Others might be important, but not necessarily urgent. Urgent tasks put us in reactive mode, while important tasks require more initiative, more proactivity. Let's now talk about the Eisenhower matrix. This classification between urgent or non-urgent and important and unimportant leads us to the concept of the 4 priority quadrants known as the Eisenhower matrix because it was developed by Dwight Eisenhower, former President of the United States. And the Eisenhower matrix divides tasks into 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1, urgent and important. Here are the important tasks that, because they were not dealt with properly, they became urgent as well. Crisis situations, scheduled projects, and unexpected problems fit into this first quadrant. Quadrant 2, non-urgent and important. These are the tasks that were identified as important when you were practicing the habit number 2, and then you visualize what actions are needed to achieve that desired end result. This quadrant deals with tasks such as improving relationships, writing a personal mission, doing long-term planning, doing preventative maintenance, exercising, and taking care of health. In other words, everything that we know that we have to do, but we rarely prioritize because they are not urgent. Quadrant number 3, urgent and not important. In this quadrant are those tasks that are urgent but do not actually contribute to the achievement of our great goals. These are activities like answering the phone, answering emails, meetings, writing reports, making payments, fixing things. The urgency of these issues as a rule is based on other people's priorities, other people's expectations. Then we have quadrant number 4, non-urgent and non-important. Finally, we have these usual activities which are not urgent, they're not important. Time wasters, small details, sorting mail, checking social networks, doing useless social interactions, other similar actions that are in this 4th quadrant. Unfortunately, most people are stuck in quadrant 3, managing crises and reacting to minor events with a short-term focus. Highly effective people don't waste time with quadrants 3 and 4. They're avoiding dealing with unimportant tasks. They often delegate or simply ignore these tasks, learning how to say no to what doesn't really matter. And this allows them to focus on quadrant 2, which is the center of effective personal management. By focusing on this second quadrant, effective people can have long-term vision, balance, and discipline. The result is that few important tasks become urgent, which really empties your quadrant number 1. Prioritizing your tasks is a lifelong skill. By knowing how to prioritize tasks according to this Eisenhower matrix, effective people live by opportunities, not problems. The habit of doing the most important thing first closes this triad of the habits that make up the private victory group. These 3 habits are up to you, and they are already capable of raising your productivity to a whole new level. However, to further accomplish and involve others in this positive flow of productivity, you will need to discover the habits that make up the public victory group, particularly habits number 4, 5, and 6. Habit 4. Think, win, win. The 4th habit is part of public victory, that is, the habits that need other people to be executed. It is a relationship of interdependence. Effective interdependence can only be built on real independence. In other words, you will need first to master habits number 1, 2, and 3, which are the private victory habits. If you are proactive, starting with the goal in mind, and knowing how to prioritize your most important tasks, now you are ready to improve also your relationships with your co-workers, friends, and family. This is because self-control and personal discipline form the basis of a good relationship with other people. From this base, now you can start feeding a kind of an emotional bank account. This is a metaphor that describes the amount of trust built up in a relationship. Your balance, this type of account, grows when you are taking positive actions, such as understanding each other, paying attention to details, honoring commitments, clarifying expectations, demonstrating personal integrity, and sincerely apologizing when you make mistakes. And with the emotional bank account paradigm in mind, now you can start working on the habits that make up the public victory group. And the first of these is the habit of thinking win-win. Win-win is a philosophy of life. It is a way of thinking about relationships so that everybody always wins. This habit of effective interpersonal leadership includes the study of 6 human interaction paradigms. Win-win. Both people win. Win-lose. If I win, you lose. Lose-win. If I lose, you win. Loses, loses. Both people lose. This is what happens when 2 stubborn people interact. Win. Well, I win. Other people don't matter. Win-win or no deal. Either both people win or no deal. Each of these paradigms is a model of human relationships that involve certain goals and certain achievements. Work thinking of benefiting everyone. This win-win interaction is the most effective one because it benefits all the parties involved. That is why it is critical to success in all our interactions. This type of interaction comes from a character of integrity and maturity that grows out of relationships of high trust. And most people are trained from childhood on a scarcity mentality, whereby for one person to gain something, the other person has to lose. Now, the win-win mentality, on the other hand, adopts an abundance paradigm which views life as a collaborative place rather than a place of competition. In this collaborative place, the successful one is not achieved by the sacrifice or exclusion of other people. Overall, the win-win solution is ideal for carrying out projects involving co-workers, family, or friends. Thinking in this way shows others that you have principles of high value, such as character, integrity, maturity, and also an abundance mentality. A good way to come up with this solution is win-win or no deal. When you add no deal as an option, it is common for the parties involved to try harder to come up with a solution because of the fear of leaving empty-handed. Another strategy is to base your negotiations on principles, not on positions. I already talked about this in the Arata Academy videos about negotiation. There are 4 steps you must take to get you into this kind of solution. Number 1, you have to see the problem from the other person's point of view. Empathetically, you have to try to put yourself in the other person's shoes and understand from their point of view what the real needs are. Number 2, you have to identify key issues and concerns. Instead of being busy defending your position, try to understand which key points are preventing a win-win agreement and the concerns of the parties involved. 3. Find an acceptable solution. Identify with others what results would be acceptable to all parties, even if no immediate agreement can be reached. 4. Identify new options. Use group creativity to come up with new options to achieve the acceptable results determined in the previous step. Habits number 5 and 6 deal directly with 2 of the elements of this process. Let's then now study these habits. Habit number 5, seek first to understand and then to be understood. The 5th habit can be summed up in one word: empathy. When someone comes to talk to you, what they want most is your attention. They want to be heard. He or she wants you to put yourself in their shoes and understand the context from their situation, from their point of view. Unfortunately, it's very common for us when someone is talking to us that we are not 100% present in a conversation. Sometimes we are thinking of something else. Or maybe we're analyzing the person's appearance or simply what we are going to be saying next. Sometimes we are distracted by the cell phone while the other person is talking. Understanding first and being understood later seems like an easy habit, but the truth is that we need to avoid the mistake of hurrying and responding without first really understanding what the other person is trying to say. In other words, we need to listen to understand and not to be thinking about what we're going to be speaking, answering. To do this, we have to master the principles of empathetic communication, the highest on a 5-level communication scale. Number 1 is listening that ignores, or simply not listening to what the other person is trying to say. Number 2 is the listening that pretends. When we pretend to be just listening, but in fact, we're just nodding to try to end the conversation. Level 3, selective listening. When we listen only to what we want and we ignore everything else. Level 4 is listening when we are really paying attention to what the other person is saying, but we're interpreting what we hear from our point of view. And number 5 is the empathetic listening, when we are not only paying attention to what is said, we're also putting ourselves in the other person's shoes to understand the context from their point of view. This is the most complex but also most rewarding form of listening. Understanding each other helps you to think win-win. To arrive in a win-win solution, it is necessary to see the problem from the other person's point of view. For someone else to trust you, they must also know that you're really trying to understand them. If we learn to listen and analyze things from the point of view of what the other person is going through, we can help much more effectively. Empathy is the basis of good communication, and listening empathetically takes time and practice. We have spent years learning to speak and reading and writing, but relatively very little time learning how to really listen. Communication is the most important skill of the human species. Therefore, whatever it is, the investment of time that you require to be learning to listen empathetically, I can tell you this habit will bring you much great returns compared to your investment to your personal relationships. And the first step in this learning is, once again, a change in mindset. We need to abandon the paradigm of wanting to be understood first. We need to know how to listen, not with the intention of answering, but with the aim of really understanding the other person. And this understanding passes not only through the words being spoken, but also through the sounds, through the body language. Some people argue that the words spoken, they represent only 10% of our communication. And empathetic listening, more than just listening through the ears, it is necessary to listen with the eyes, listen with the heart. And this is the opposite of listening without attention, just to give answers, such as evaluating people, researching, advising, giving interpretations. Let me explain more. Evaluation is when, instead of truly listening, you're simply approving or disapproving what is being said according to your opinions. Investigation is already a little bit better listening because you are a little bit more curious, you ask a few questions, but from your point of view. Counseling happens when instead of listening, you are already starting to make suggestions from your perspective. And interpretation is a genuine effort to try to understand the situation from the limits of our point of view. And there is a superior form of listening, which is empathic listening. Empathic listening is a skill that very few people in the world master. If you can perform empathetic listening, even on a small scale, you will stand out from the crowd and you can produce team results that very few people can. This listening, however, is only half of the fifth habit. Seek first to understand, and then to be understood. The second part of this habit is related to your ability to make yourself understood, which requires not only speaking and writing skills, but also the courage to reveal to others what you really want. Courage is necessary for you to say the truth. If you open up, if you are sincere, even exposing your flaws, your fears, the confidence in a conversation will rise exponentially. And to do so, instead of going straight to the objective and the logical ends of your speech, go through aspects of your character, your relationship. Make clear what principles you value personally and what basis you want to maintain in your relationship with the person you're talking to. Only then try to explain the validity of your logic. When you listen well and also make yourself understood, you will have taken the first step, not only to come up with a win-win solution, but also to create synergy with others. And that is the theme of the next habit. Habit number 6, synergize. Synergy is more than cooperation, simultaneous effort, or teamwork. Synergy is what happens when the result obtained by the work of 2 or more people is greater than the sum of the results that each party would be able to obtain separately. The 6th habit of highly effective people is the habit of creative cooperation. It is the practical result of the 3 habits that generate public victory. For synergy to happen, it is necessary for everyone involved to understand each other and to act with a solution that will bring gain to everybody. When this kind of synergy is created, we can achieve impressive results that would not be possible through individual work. Synergy opens your mind to new possibilities, new alternatives, new options. And this only happens if 2 elements of team communication are at the highest level: trust and cooperation. First, you need to trust the people you're working with. And then you need to cooperate to get each of them to do their job at the best way. Many team members often have to give up certain positions in order to find a viable alternative, a middle way that allows everybody to have more confidence and to cooperate more. And this kind of attitude represents the abandonment of the either me or you mentality. In a deeper degree, it represents a respect and even an appreciation of the differences between different team members. So, if you can create synergy with your co-workers and friends and family, you can move faster, more effectively toward the goals that you have for each of these groups. The habit of creating synergy completes not only the group of the 3 public victory habits, but also the list of the habits proper for you to become a highly effective person. That's the end. Why? Because the 7th and final habit of the list, in fact, is something that encompasses all the previous ones together. This is creating a process of continuous improvement. Habit number 7, sharpen the saw. The last of the 7 habits covers all the others, focusing on the process of continued improvement. This is so important. That Arata Academy's logo is your continued improvement. Sharpening the saw encompasses the principles of balanced self-renewal, including physical, mental, social, emotional, and spiritual improvement. Although we have in the book mentioning saw as the tool, well, I like to talk about sharpening the axe. This habit can be explained with a story of a young lumberjack who challenges a more experienced and skilled lumberjack to see who would be able to cut more trees in one day. So the young lumberjack starts the challenge with all his might, and he would stop every now and then to take a look at what the old lumberjack is doing, and he would see that the old lumberjack is just sitting on his back, apparently resting, and then he thinks, oh, he's never gonna beat me. By the end of the day, the old lumberjack had already cut down more trees than the young man, and the young man wonders, how could that be? Every time he would take a look, the rival was sitting. But then the old man says, I was not resting, I was not sitting, I was just sharpening my axe. This story shows that instead of wanting to act, we should always take some time to sharpen our axe so we can better achieve our goals. This habit involves others because this is the habit that makes everything else possible by carrying your most precious possession, yourself. To execute this habit, you need to be careful to constantly renew 4 dimensions of your nature. Number 1, physical stress. You have to exercise, eat well, and monitor your stress. Number 2, spiritual dimension. Be clear about your personal values and get seriously involved with them by studying and meditating on each one. Number 3, mental dimension. Read, write, plan, visualize. Exercise your mind the same way you do with your body. Number 4, social and emotional dimension. Live by your values, develop meaningful relationships, help others empathically and synergistically by increasing their self-confidence. For your self-renewal to be balanced, you cannot leave any of these 4 dimensions behind. By taking proper care of them in a sequence of learning, dedication, and action, your life will go to an upward spiral that will make you capable of achieving any outcome. Use the 7 habits to improve your life. We would all like to be able to consistently turn our big dreams into reality without unnecessary effort, stress, or personal sacrifice. In this Arata Academy Summary, you discovered how to be a highly effective person. However, knowing what to do is different from doing what you know. There's no use knowing what are these principles that govern the lives of highly effective people if you don't incorporate these principles as habits in your life yourself. This process requires a major transformation that can only be done from the inside out. We just showed you the way, but only you can go the way. And to do this, make a consistent effort to practice each of these 7 habits as often as possible. 1. Be proactive. Take the initiative and take responsibility for 100% of what happens in your life without blaming anything or anyone in your mistakes and successes. Number 2. Begin with the end in mind. Be clear about what you want to achieve in your life, in your projects, and in every task you are going to accomplish. Number 3. First things first. Learn to prioritize tasks and always focus on the ones that matter, not just the urgent ones. Learn how to delegate or simply ignore the unimportant tasks. Number 4. Think win-win. When you're working with others, have the mindset to look for solutions where all parties win. Number 5. Seek first to understand and then to be understood. Develop emphatic listening carefully and trying to understand the other person's point of view, their perspective. Then have clarity and integrity in your communication to make yourself understood. 6. Synergize. Try to have an environment of creative cooperation with others so that the end result is greater than what would be achieved with these parties working individually. And 7. Sharpen the saw. Focus on the process of continued improvement, working daily to improve your body, mind, and spirituality and social relationships. And also, try to find your inner voice and inspire the people around you to find theirs. That way, you'll move from effectiveness to greatness. There is also an 8th habit, which is a gift for you, and it is available at arata.se/download 7 habits. Our habits define us. So we must be careful to be defined by good habits. Following these habits and making use of them will change your daily life and make you change your paradigms, and consequently also achieve greater results. The path is complex because it requires patience and total sincerity to yourself, but the answers you will find may surprise you. Now, don't expect to change overnight. Instead of that, focus on making steady progress, improving a little each day. What we insist on doing turns out to be easy, not because of the challenge itself has been changed, but because we grow and because we become bigger than the challenge. If you're interested in having this kind of a personal growth in an easy to understand and well-structured way, we invite you to visit the personal development course by visiting arata.se/personal development. And I have something for you, something new, and also for the students in this course. If you're a student, you can log into the members area. You're going to find a new bonus material, which are activities for you to be practicing each one of these 7 habits.